The letters IOKA on the mayor building were one of the most beloved landmarks of the downtown area. For generations since the building was first opened in 1915, some form of an IOKA marquee hung on the brick facade over Water Street. Playing a variety of films, the sign's letters displayed many titles and even some costumes over the years, but on Christmas Eve in 2008, the IOKA played its last film. When the theater closed, several efforts were made by the community to save the IOKA, but in 2020, the building was sold and redevelopment plans were unveiled showing that the historic marquee was slated to be removed, and its fate unknown. For one citizen, the thought of losing such an important part of history was unthinkable. Enter Laurie A. Couture. She worked at the IOKA as a teenager in the 90s and had fallen in love with the building.
I worked the concession stand with my best friend Brendan Sanborn, and to this day it's still one of my favorite jobs that I ever had.
After the theater had closed, Laurie and her late son Bryson were heavily involved in the efforts to save the building and reopen it as a theater. Ultimately, these community efforts were unsuccessful.
It was very sad because that was really the end of the IOKA Theatre as we know it.
Jumping to 2020, the IOKA had a new owner and plans for renovations were before local boards and committees for review, with the marquee not included on the face of the building. She started a large campaign to petition the Historic District Commission and later the Zoning Board of Adjustment to preserve the marquee. Ultimately, the removal of the sign went forward.
So with the history that I have with the marquee, which includes, and with the whole IOKA, which includes me working there as a child, my grandmother going there as a child, taking me and my sister to the movies there, my best friend and I having free reign of the marquee and of the building itself. I mean, we had free reign to go in the marquee, go all throughout the building. You just fall in love with it. It becomes your own. Jim Blanco used to let us knock on the, hey Jim, can we go in the marquee? Yes. Crawl out the window, get inside the O, look at all the town. You know, you develop a real fondness and caring for the town structures. So that, and then the fact that the other piece of it was my son Bryson, who I lost in 2017. He was so involved with the IOKA efforts, in those earlier efforts, and he loved the marquee. There was one last push in me to try to see if there was something that could be done to save the marquee, even if it would no longer go back on the building.
Couture met with the developers and pleaded her case for the marquee to be saved. They made an arrangement to store the sign until a permanent home could be found. Last week, Couture had her dreams realized, making the 900-mile journey from New Hampshire to the American Sign Museum in Cincinnati, Ohio, for the unveiling of the newly renovated IOKA marquee.
I keep almost looking around for Exeter, but I just see all these beautiful signs. The IOKA marquee is in the perfect place.
The marquee was a part of the American Sign Museum's new 20,000 square foot expansion to represent a downtown Main Street of America. We spoke to Erin Holland, the Director of Education and Engagement at the Sign Museum, to learn more about the project.
And our mission is to preserve and celebrate American signage and that history. And so we have signs from all across the country and over 100 years worth on display. So neon signs, hand-painted signs, light bulbs, we've got it all.
The sign needed a lot of restoration work to be ready for installation. Staff needed to make a plan for safely mounting the sign, making sure the electric and wiring was up to code, and restoring the neon. But with the new wing of the museum now open, visitors from far and wide can come witness what Exeter residents have loved for so many years, giving solace to Couture and others.
Yes, my heart is sad that it will no longer be a theater and that the marquee is not on the building, but I am very happy with the outcome that we have had if that can't be. So it's almost like a bit where you have to have two sets of emotions existing at the same time. So if this is what it is, this is the best outcome. And I'm pleased with it because the IOKA is still here and the marquee is now going to be restored. The neon will be restored and turned back on, and the sign will once again glow beautifully. And it'll outlive all of us, for sure.
A huge thank you to Laurie A. Couture, the American Sign Museum, and Morningstar Aerial for making this video possible.